How's it going, guys? This is Win and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about Clash Royale. I'm not going to probably show a lot of gameplay at all, but I just want to talk about a few things with the game. And of course, you guys saw the title. I have this kind of weird conspiracy theory that I've thought for a while about Clash Royale, and it might sound crazy at first, but the more you think about it and the more you listen to me talk about it, it might start to make sense to you guys. So I first want to cover that, and then second, I want to talk about what I think needs to happen for the game to be great again. The game kind of sucks right now. It's really stale. They just announced balance changes, which I could also go over in this video too, but suffice it to say, the balances really don't do that much, and they always seem to touch cards that no one has a problem with. It's the other cards that people have bigger problems with that don't get balanced. So I want to talk a little bit about that and what I think the game needs to do to get better. The next update won't come until March. It's still January, guys. I have to go another month and a half trying to make videos on this game that is frustrating, not that fun, and not gonna make any changes for a very long time. So let's jump into the video, and first let's talk about this crazy conspiracy theory that I have. So first, I want you guys to think about Star Wars. Yes, you guessed it. I want you guys to think about Star Wars, and more specifically, Star Wars Battlefront 2, because that is where this whole conspiracy starts, this whole controversy, and specifically the controversy around loot boxes. And more in general, I'm gonna talk about this theme of having a game and then having to pay for more stuff in the game as you go, which we know Clash Royale has a lot of, and a ton of other AAA console titles also have this, and these games also have like a $60, $70, $80, $90, sometimes a $100 price tag if you get their crazy ultimate deluxe collector's edition. They now have loot boxes and loot crates and chests, and it's basically like gems in Clash Royale they have for these other games, and I think people are sick of it and they've had enough of it. If you're old enough like me, you might remember a simpler time when you used to be able to just go to the store, buy the game, go home and play it, and that was it. You were done, and that was all it was ever gonna be. And then games started getting a little more advanced. There was online gameplay. There was, a little bit more commitment on the part of the developer to maintain a community, which is not bad. I'm not bashing that at all. So what used to happen was you used to buy the game, and then the developers would make more content later. So let's say you bought Call of Duty 3 or Call of Duty 4, I don't know. It had a pretty good online community back in the day. You then you get maps, you play online, there's all kinds of fun gameplay, and then let's say 4 or 5 months later they made another map, and then they'll sell it to you and you can buy it online for $4.99. That's not bad. You get more content with what they made after the fact, but it didn't sacrifice the integrity of the game itself in the beginning. You still got a full game when you bought it the first time. Fast forward to what we see even later and now today. You have developers like EA or DICE or some of, basically the Call of Duty, Activision, Battlefield, all these shooters are pretty much notorious for this. This is why Star Wars Battlefront 2 is no different than that. You have them making all of that content in the beginning before the game's even released. They make all of the base game and then they make all of the extra maps. They made this all beforehand, so why not just put it in the game? No, they'll actually take some of that content out and then sell it to you later, and they do it on purpose, which I think a lot of people are starting to figure out, and they're having a couple problems with it. So now specifically with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and EA, who is, I think, the most notorious for doing this, they started to stretch this even further. So you buy their extra content, and now their content comes in the form of what I talked about earlier, in crates and boxes and chests and, loot specials and all this stuff. And it got to the point where you started only getting a chance at getting something. It wasn't guaranteed, or you would get something, but it was garbage. I think in Clash Royale, it'd be akin to you buy all these chests and there's a chance that you get an epic or a common, and basically getting a golem is a lot better than getting one ice spirit, let's say. So to the player, it feels like you're getting nothing, so it's virtually gambling. That's what it is. So EA took that pretty far with some of their games. I know FIFA, for example, with soccer, you would buy packs, kind of like a card pack, which is not so bad because you're getting a certain amount of cards, but the rarity, you're guaranteed at least some kind of rarity, at least with those. If you buy a gold card pack, you're going to get at least a gold player. So there's some kind of stability there. With Clash Royale, you buy it and you're guaranteed some, kind of rarity, but you don't know what cards that are specifically. So it's kind of the same thing there. But what happens though is in Star Wars Battlefront 2, you're buying it and there is nothing guaranteed at all. It virtually is gambling. And then you have children playing. So then you have children gambling, and that's actually illegal. And I just want to stop real quick and talk about this idea of perceived, like, getting nothing out of a pack. Like, yes, you might get something out of the pack, but if it means nothing to you, if it's something you already have, if the point of the game is to collect all the cards and you keep getting duplicates, that's basically nothing to you, even though you're spending money over and over again to try to get one that you don't have. That's why it can be perceived, at least in a court of law, which is important to remember that. In a court of law, it can be perceived as getting nothing. So in terms of Clash Royale, if you're a new player and you're popping open all these chests to try to get those legendary cards you don't have, that's going to be a pretty bad thing when compared to the Star Wars Battlefront 2 controversy. If you don't want to just take my word for it, I would really encourage you to read this article on Rolling Stone. I will put a link to it in the description, but this basically reiterates some of the same stuff that I'm saying, talking about, you know, what are DLC loot boxes and microtransactions. So if we scroll down here a little bit, it actually talks about that legal aspect that I was mentioning just before. So talking about, is it gambling, and how the attention surrounding Star Wars Battlefront 2 didn't just anger players, but also drew the attention of US and European lawmakers. The question was whether the game's use of loot boxes should be considered gambling. So Belgium's gambling authority says it is gambling. UK says it isn't. China and Japan already regulate loot boxes as a form of gambling, and Australia considers them gambling. So there is kind of split opinions here, and of course the United States, when it comes to this stuff, we aren't really on the forefront of thinking, so we haven't really decided yet. But if you go down here, it says the question of loot boxes and gambling seems to not just be about the current definition of what gambling is, but about whether the system is deliberately designed to be addictive and uses systems originally created for gambling to get people to spend more money. And of course, Hawaiian State Rep Sean Quinlan, so this guy is in the House of Representatives in the United States government, said that he raised concerns that loot boxes could over time introduce children to actual gambling. It could be like a gateway. And he says, we don't allow Joe Camel to encourage our kids to smoke, and we shouldn't allow Star Wars to encourage our kids to gamble. Now, I think this is actually a pretty funny reference. Joe Camel is he's like the mascot of Camel cigarettes, so obviously we don't allow smoking commercials and stuff to be marketed towards children. And it's funny that he mentioned this because 2 days before, I actually tweeted kind of the same thing. I said, a mobile game targeting kids that also sells microtransactions up to $100. Think about, a mountain of gems or like a mountain of gold or something, whatever they sell in the game. Up to $100 is basically the same thing as cigarette companies targeting kids and teens. It's predatory, it leads to addiction, and deserves to be regulated. Children won't fully understand these transactions because you don't actually see like $100 leaving your wallet. You might be on your dad or mom's like iPhone. You tap, tap, tap. Oh, you're all set. Your transaction's done. Boom. $100 just left your dad's like bank account, and the child doesn't fully grasp the fact of what they just did. So like, what the heck does this even have to do with Clash Royale? So if you look at the timeline of events, shortly after this controversy for EA Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, they pulled the transactions off of their store. They made like a mass apology. But then, because no one was buying their game, there were literally, on Black Friday, games were sold out, and Star Wars Battlefront 2 hadn't sold one copy. People were literally boycotting this game because of this controversy. The company, or I should say EA as the larger company, lost like $3 billion in revenue, and that hits them where it hurts, in their pocketbooks, in their wallets. When you lose money, then they take it seriously. And trust me, I don't have to be the first person to tell you, Supercell is the exact same way. They care about their money. So what did they do? Shortly thereafter, all of a sudden in an update, now I don't know, this isn't like 100%, that's why I said it's a conspiracy theory, but they magically they changed their chests out of nowhere. They had people are asking for all these updates, for tournament reworks, for card balances, for new game modes and stuff. But what do? They changed their chests. And what do they change about them? They went, instead of the giant chest, the magical and the super magical, for I think it was like $5. I want to say like $10 for a magical, and a super magical was like almost $50. If you think one gem is like 1 penny, it costs like $49 to get a super magical chest. And remember what we talked about with gambling, there was only about a 40 to 50% chance that you actually get a legendary out of it. So if you're a kid, you're buying a ton of gems, you're opening super magical chests for a chance to get a legendary, and you just keep getting the same garbage commons and a few epics or whatever. You were guaranteed some rarities, but you were going for that legendary, man. That's basically the same thing as gambling. You went in, you wanted something, and you didn't get it, and now you're disappointed, and your money's gone, and you just got duplicate cards you already had. That's the exact same problem with Star Wars Battlefront 2. And if you go and read all of the articles about Battlefront 2 and all this stuff, just switch out the name Star Wars Battlefront 2 and just put in Clash Royale and read the same sentence over again, and I can guarantee you it's probably true for Clash Royale. That's why they changed up the chest. They made them a little cheaper, and now if you look at the Legendary King's chest, you're actually guaranteed a Legendary. For the first time, you can actually buy it and you get it. That's never been that case in the 2-year history of Clash Royale. And kind of perfect timing that there was this huge controversy with EA and their loot chest gem card system, whatever you want to call it. There are microtransactions in the game, and then all of a sudden Clash Royale changes their chest structure when they see that, holy crap, EA just got absolutely destroyed and no one's playing their game anymore. We should probably save our asses, excuse my French, but you know, they made some quick changes that were kind of unexpected, but I mean, it's a better thing for all players because now you can actually get something that you're guaranteed. So in no way am I complaining, but I just think it's interesting that you have two separate events that happen pretty close to one another. And if you look a little deeper than just the surface, I think they are actually related. And honestly, in my opinion, I think there's another way that EA and Supercell are pretty similar. And that is, like I said earlier, where EA will make a full game and they'll make kind of like other maps and content, but they won't give it to you all in the beginning. They'll actually like give it to you later and force you to pay more money for that stuff that they already made at the beginning. Well, that same thing happens to Clash Royale. And this is I'm gonna transition and talk about more in the part of the video what I want to see happen with Clash Royale, where I want it to go, what I think the improvements need to be made, like I mentioned in the beginning. And that is, it's no different with Clash Royale. They have all this content that they've made, just like maps in a shooter. They've got game modes that they won't let us play all the time. They had, in fact, and I listed them out here, they have 10 game modes that they've made that if I go in the game right now, I cannot play them. The only times I can play them are when they have special events on the weekends, and it costs money. You get one free entry, and then every single time you want to play, it's either 50 or 100 gems, and that's absolutely crazy. You guys have, and I'm talking to Supercell right now, you guys have made so many good game modes. Why can't we play them all the time? I personally love, and I can list them out right now, they've got Double Elixir, Triple Elixir, Ramp Up, Draft, 2v2 Draft, Mirror Battle, they have Retro Royale, Modern Royale, Sudden Death, and Touchdown. In fact, they hyped up Touchdown so much, and they've had it twice since it came out like 4 months ago. You have 10 different game modes, and I can't play any of them. Sometimes I go into the game, all you can do is play ladder, 2v2, or a tournament standard challenge. Or you can go to a tournament, which is the exact same thing, where your King Tower is capped at level 9, and you have tournament standard card levels. Now, I spend a lot of money on gems to play this game, so I can go into a grand challenge or a classic challenge whenever I want. And I even find the game to be really boring. Can you imagine how it feels to be a free-to-play player who doesn't buy gems? And if you don't have any gems, there is literally nothing you can do besides play ladder and just fight for those trophies where it's like life or death, which is super stressful. There's nothing casual about ladder at all. Or you go into 2v2 where there is absolutely no rewards at all, and it's too casual, and people get paired up with crappy teammates, and like that can get really boring too. And I didn't realize this, but I guess so many people play 2v2, they're having a hard time getting people to go over to ladder, which is why they won't, you know, promote 2v2 any more than they already have. I didn't realize that because I actually never play 2v2, but that's because I can afford to play challenges or I'm willing to buy gems. So like I said, I think they need to have all of these game modes available all the time, or have multiple challenges. So if someone like me is willing to spend gems, maybe I could spend 10 gems to do a Triple Elixir Classic Challenge. That would be so much fun to me. I personally love Double Elixir, Triple Elixir, and Ramp Up. The faster game modes, I find that I play those better. I think my strengths and my skills are geared towards like kind of playing at a faster pace. I love playing those. In fact, I struggle a lot, maybe more so, to get 12 wins in a regular challenge. Every time there is, you know, the faster game modes, I do a lot better than those. So people have their certain game modes that they like. You might like Mirror Battle, where you know, okay, me and my opponent have the same deck. I'm really good at playing that type of game. Or let's say you like Draft. You're really good at picking like what card to give and what card to take. You're really good at that. So you might want to play Draft more often, but no, you can't. You have to wait until there's a Draft challenge once every like 3 months. I think they have addressed this issue in their upcoming update. I really hope they have. I think there has been a leak somewhere about a new like stadium mode, and you get to kind of pick certain parameters of the game so it can kind of be unique every time. I don't see why they can't implement something like that. I feel like there needs to be more variety because free-to-play players have absolutely nothing to play other than ladder or 2v2. And for those of us that are willing to spend gems, there's not much more. And the weekend challenges are fun, but why can't we have those all the time? Why can't I sit down and relax? Honestly, I play the most Clash Royale probably on a weeknight, not the weekend. I play on Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Maybe I want to stream Thursday evening or something. There's nothing to do. In fact, it gets harder for people like me to make content because they're in the game. There's hardly any content because they made all these game modes and they won't let us play them. Definitely the second thing I think that they need to do to improve is do balance changes, I think, way more frequently and probably do less cards at a time. I know they like to shake up the meta, and they do that a lot when they balance like 12, or even last time it was like 18 cards at once. That just shakes up the game way too much. I think the metas shouldn't be defined as like these long periods of time. I remember people are always saying things like, yeah, that was way back during like the giant poison meta. And then they talk about, yeah, oh, and then there was like the bridge spam meta. They talk about these time periods like they were just that, like they were this era in Clash Royale history. If you have a deck that's that strong for that long of time that people can literally say, yeah, those 2 months was all giant poison or the Goizen meta, I think you need to identify that poison and giant is a problem and fix it a lot faster. Just like this Royal Ghost has been a problem for almost like a month now. If you can identify on like day 2 that it's a problem, literally just balance the Royal Ghost. Just do him by himself. If he's a problem and he's causing problems, just tweak that one card. I don't see why like 1 card a week they could balance. Or 2 cards a week, 1 every couple of days. If they know it's a problem, if people are complaining about it, just fix it. You don't have to find 12 cards to balance at once and then no one even knows like what to do anymore. That kind of ruins the game. Now the deck that I'm using today, like 4 of the cards are getting nerfed in it, or some of them are even getting buffed. So I'm like, I don't even know if this is gonna work anymore. Goblin Hut got a nerf, so I put in Furnace now. Like that's fun to experiment. But when you have so many cards at once, no one knows what the heck is going on. When you could have just balanced these 1 or 2 cards that were actually a problem, why don't you just balance them when they are a problem? And I can actually talk about the balances now since they are coming out. So we have the Royal Ghost is the first one. Obviously that was, you couldn't ignore that. That one needed to happen. So 6% damage increase. He is going to be seen longer, another so going from 0.7 to 1.2 seconds before he goes invisible again. So he can be targeted a little bit longer there. Zappies can now target ground and air. That's a huge thing. I'm really excited about Zappies. Hunter, this seems like a nerf, but it's actually a buff. The problem with the Hunter is that he shoots too far away and he does too little damage because he's so far away. So now they make the Hunter get closer. His bullets are, instead of fanned out, they're a little more like compressed, and but the projectile range remains the same. So he gets closer, and so basically he's going to do more damage because he can get closer to stuff before he starts shooting at them. So it's actually a buff, which is pretty good, especially with tanks. Night Witch, her bats are going to come quicker. Again, though, I don't even think the Night Witch needed any kind of tweaking, which is why I'm surprised that they did it. Another one, Lumberjack, is getting 7% hit point buff. Another card I didn't even think needed anything. Same with Mini P.E.K.K.A. has another 7% hit point buff. I didn't even think that needed anything. Mortar, the minimum range or that dead zone is getting smaller. So now if you put a Knight down or a Giant down or a Tesla or something, it's actually going to shoot at that. And so basically it's easier to distract the Mortar now. So it's actually a nerf to the Mortar. What was another one? Bat's hit speed is going to go from 1 second to 1.1 seconds, so a slight nerf there. And the Lava Hound is getting a 5% hit point increase. So that is a pretty decent but not substantial buff to the Lava Hound. So again, a lot of balance changes all at once. Some of them we didn't even need. Other cards like the Skeleton Barrel, which people were like, think is insane, that is not even getting touched in this round of balances. I think that's a problem. So long story short, I think they just need to be more nimble in how they approach balances. It's not hard to adjust to 1 or 2 cards every week. That's not that crazy. It's harder to adjust, I think, when there is a god-awful meta for way too long, and then you just shake it all up on everyone, and then no one knows what's going on. And I feel like I don't even want to play for a while. I want to see what new meta emerges before I jump back in, so I at least have some bearings on what the heck is going on. But if you do 1 or 2 cards, that's easier to manage, and I can kind of play through that and pick up on those differences more easily than, like I said before, all of them at once. And last but not least, I know it's been beat to death by a million people, but that's because a million people are right. There needs to be some kind of rework to clans, clan battles, maybe a tournament where your clan goes up against another clan and you fight for points. I think that would be quite a bit of fun. Right now, the problem with this game is that it's very individualized. It's like a zero-sum game. It's either I win and you lose, and there's no cooperation. There's no like we can grow and work together as a community. The only thing you have for that is the clan chest, and for most people it's a really crappy clan chest, so no one's even motivated to get crowns, and the game modes aren't fun enough to even want to go get a ton of crowns. So it's really hard because you need a collective effort just to even get 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, or even 10 out of 10 on that clan chest. I think it's very much a you versus me game. There isn't kind of we can grow together. I think we need a more team-based approach. Even in 2v2, it's like, fine, the two of us won and the two of you lose. So it's very high stakes. That's why people get so angry at it. It's, you know, my success is based on your failure. It's literally that I have to beat you. There is no kind of collective, we can all get better at this. It's literally, I get better because you get worse. I get 30 trophies because you lose 30 trophies, and that is not healthy at all. That brings out a competitive nature in people, but in a bad way, and I can definitely attest to that. This game has made me very angry at times, and that's because when I lose, I now have to win to get that back, and then win again to get where I wanted to go. Or the only way for me to get where I want to go is to literally beat and push down other players, and that's not a healthy mindset, I think, at all. Games are supposed to be fun, and it's not supposed to be pitting people against each other. And at its core, Clash Royale, all it does is pit people against each other, and the only form of camaraderie is that you're in the same clan, but even in that clan, it doesn't do anything. Wow, okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It kind of turned into a rant there at the end, but there you have it. That's my little bit of a conspiracy theory, a little bit of recap. EA got a lot of crap for basically encouraging kids to gamble and spend a lot of money on a chance to get stuff. Supercell, wow, sounds like they do something pretty similar. Oh, and now you want to change your chests all of a sudden in this update, like 2 weeks after EA got in trouble for the same thing? That doesn't seem fishy at all. But, you know, it's just a theory. I think it's good anyway. The chests are cheaper and you get more cards. And I used to be against stuff like that personally because I'm like, I come from the mindset where I'm like, I spent all this money on the game. I worked hard. I worked hard for 2 years. Now someone can come in and they can literally max their account in like 4 months. I'm like, it's not fair. But then at the same time, I just realized if the game is not fun and no one plays, then even if I'm maxed, I can't play. I can't make videos. If no one else is playing the game, then it dies. So for me, I'm like, okay, yes, give cards to people. I don't want this game to die. Like, this is good. So I'm not mad about it at all. I just thought it was a little funny and a little fishy. And then, of course, my balance changes that I want to see happen, or game changes, I should say. I explained those to you guys. I hope you agree with me. If you don't, or if you have other ideas, make sure you let me know in the comments below. I think, like I said, clan reworks, having us be able to play the challenges all the time would be great. And then balancing their cards on a more frequent basis, even if it only means 1 or 2 cards at a time. I think those would really help the state of the game and the future of it, hoping to rebuild that player base. I know the game is definitely dying. If you go on Google Trends and you look at the searches of Clash Royale, it has been on a steady decline since, I think it's like the summer. So it's been dying for quite a while, but I have faith that it will come back. Supercell has made some really dope games in their career of making games, so I have faith in them. I know they know a lot more about game development than I do. So in my humble opinion, this is what I think needs to happen. And if someone from Supercell is watching, maybe I have good ideas, let me know. I don't know. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe for more Clash Royale content. If you like this style of video where I just talk at you guys for like 20 minutes, make sure you let me know that too. I really enjoy making videos like this, in addition obviously to the more classic gameplay videos that I do. So if you like this video, make sure you slap a thumbs up on it. But as for now, that's all I have for you guys, so I will see you next time.